Oh, there you are. Marc Shields here, coming at you from Easter Island, Rapa Nui, one of the most isolated, inhabited places in the world. We've been locked down on Easter Island, Rapa Nui since March 2020. Very few people have been able to come in and very few people have been able to leave. There has been no tourism, the only industry on the island. I've had very little to no work, and it has been a crazy ride, a crazy adventure. Today I want to tell you all about it. So let's get into it. For those that don't already know, Easter Island is an incredibly beautiful place. It sits as the easternmost part of Polynesia, but it's politically part of Chile. It's over 3,500 kilometers off the coast though, making it one of the most isolated inhabited places in the world. It's world famous for its giant statues. These things are found in their hundreds scattered around the island. And its staring isolation, amazing topography, crystal clear waters bring tourists and travelers from all over the world every single year. So I fell in love with the island in 2008 when I arrived here, already engaged to be married to my wife that I met in New Zealand the year before. She's from Rapa Nui. Oh, this is my wife. And there were really only two options as far as work for the government, teachers, doctors, nurses. I didn't have any of those degrees, and let's just say my Spanish at the time was unemployable anyway. But my wife and I spoke English, so it made sense that we got into tourism. I mean, there were thousands of people from all over the world coming here each year. We didn't really know where to start, but I got out and started cold selling on the street. I just walk up to people and say, hey, you interested in a tour? Over time, we got a bit of traction, investing in vehicles, employing people. And by 2019, we ran tours of every single type on the island. I mean, we were doing it all. Camping tours, horse riding tours, fishing tours, archaeology. And by 2018, we actually started a business, Rapa Nui Stargazing, which was the only stargazing company on the island. I mean, things were going really good. We weren't rich, but we were able to get off the island every now and again and visit my family or my wife's family. And most of the other money we kind of reinvested it. I mean, it made sense. We needed to keep up with the competition. I mean, what would possibly stop tourists coming to Easter Island, right? Or at least that's what we thought. Like everyone else, news reached us in early 2020 that there was some sort of novel virus taking over the world. Pictures coming out of China and then death in Italy, and suddenly the whole world was closing down. The island went into a mad rush. We started getting people onto planes. Everyone was shipped off in a mad hurry. We locked down our borders and we waited. Disease in the island isn't a new thing, and in the not too distant past, there were outbreaks of smallpox, leprosy, and the flu that killed lots and lots of people. The Rapa Nui, being a people of oral tradition, always kept these memories alive. There was a worry, a big worry about what this disease might do on the island. We were fortunate though, there was only one case. They quarantined that person. He eventually got through it, and the island was locked down without any COVID. The only problem is 50% or so of the population was unemployed. Everyone that was involved in tourism, well, essentially lost their job. So there we were, locked down with no COVID and no work. It was a bit of a worry, but we'd heard something about 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and so we figured, well, it might take a little bit longer in Easter Island, but we will wait it out and hopefully we can kick back in for summer. I had been working 24/7 for the last 10 years or so, and suddenly there was no emails, no phone calls, no in-house fighting with the employees. It was just, well, just so peaceful. And I relished those first few months. I spent time with my family, I fixed up things on the house, I finished an ebook which I tried to sell online, and we figure, man, it's got to be over soon, right? 2 weeks to flatten the curve. We'll kick back in for summer. So by October, things were looking pretty bleak. Tourism didn't look like it was coming back, and we started worrying a little bit more about feeding our 3 children than we did about the peace and quiet that we'd been enjoying. We prayed, we waited, we prayed some more, we sold a car. And just when things seemed to be really bleak, someone who had been on tour with me 8 years ago or so reached out and said they wanted to help. And they decided to bless us with a monthly help. My own family, my wife's family reached out as well, and we were just overwhelmed with the love that we felt pouring out. But we also realized this couldn't go on forever. I mean, if tourism doesn't come back, we needed an option. We needed to do something. We needed to move. So then a thought occurred. Tuhi, my wife, had some land on the island, and legend had it that it was pretty good for farming. We didn't know exactly where it was, but we figured, man, if we could get hold of this land, maybe we could plant something and secure ourselves some food for the future, and maybe even something more to sell. So we needed to do something, we needed to do it fast. See, during the pandemic, a lot of Rapa Nui from the island had moved out to the countryside and started planting crops. And if they didn't have land, they would just close off land and use it anyway. Now, it's kind of allowed if the land doesn't have a name. Our land did have a name, but no one knew that, and so we needed to rush to close the land before someone else did. We would win a legal battle if it had been closed off, but we didn't want the fighting, and this was a family plot of land, and so we hoped we could get the whole family involved and plant the whole area. But there was a bit of a problem. You see, my wife, because her mother was so young when she had her grandmother essentially took her on board as her own daughter. And because of this, the inheritance of the land had been divided up into 8 pieces. 1 for each child and 1 for my wife. Of course, the other grandchildren were not overly happy about this. There were discussions, there were demands being made, and sadly, we had a bit of a falling out. We were left by ourselves to close off this land and get it planted. So we had the land, we knew where it was, so it was a start. But we didn't have the money or the know-how of how to close this land off, how to essentially fence it and plant it. Fortunately, my wife was friends with the guy that lives next door to our land, and we went and asked him. We said, look, we don't really have much money, but I'll give you a set of binoculars and some t-shirts, and we'll buy the petrol. Would we be able to use your tractor? Would you be able to help us? Now, the fortunate thing for us, and perhaps the unfortunate thing for him, was that he was under house arrest at the time, and he wasn't able to leave his house. He was kind of hungry for the company. We were going to fence it the Rapa Nui way. In the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, there was a huge area of the island that was planted with eucalyptus trees. Now, these eucalyptus trees are not overly good for building houses, but they're quite good for burning and for fencing. It was around this time that we got lucky. An uncle of my wife, who had been living in Chile his whole life and was a farmer from the south, had come over to the island with a dream of planting crops as well. He didn't have any work, he had lost it during the pandemic, and so he decided to help us. And so now it was no longer me working alone, and I had Tangaroa, Pepito, and my wife's cousin Nico had also decided to help us out. It was time to get into some work. These guys are asking for some wives. He says he's alone, really wants some Americans to come over and marry with him. So if anyone out there wanting to marry a Rapa Nui, good strong man like this, let us know. So there are 4 things we really need to do these posts. We need a te tingi. That's to push all the dirt in. We need a spade to do the holes. We need a koropa, which is to actually dig the holes. It's a bit like a very heavy crowbar. And then we need 4 strong and agile men. Summertime in Rapa Nui is the fruit, man. We've got some beautiful marini, you say in Rapa Nui, or watermelon, and some of the best plants in the world. They're small, but man, these things are sweet.
Ananá. Hay que plantar ananá.
Things weren't going quite as fast as we liked, and we wanted to get it finished for March 2021. And if we didn't get more people helping us out, we probably wouldn't be able to do it. It was at this point that we decided to invoke the ancient Rapa Nui tradition of umanga. Hey guys, so it was going pretty slowly, getting this fencing done. So what we've done is a thing called umanga, which is basically get a whole lot of friends together to work for you for free. It's not really free. I put on some food and drink afterwards, and it's kind of a time of coming together, and when they need some help, I've got to go and help them. So that's the deal. We were able to get the fencing done, we were able to get everything closed off, we were excited and things were moving forward. And then all of a sudden, grounded to a halt. Somehow we got pregnant during the pandemic. There wasn't much to do during the pandemic. Our new little arrival, Jonah Marc Shields Tuki, started taking a lot of time off our hands. Tangaroa had recently got a job in the town, and our friend Pepito had been released from house arrest. So he was super excited about his newfound freedom. So just when we wanted to kick on ahead, things got a little bit frustrating. But it gave us time to think, what were we going to plant? So Tangaroa had had a lot of experience planting potatoes in the south of Chile. And his family had decided to help him out and send some potatoes over here. After a couple of false starts, missing a few boats, they finally arrived in September. Hey guys, I'm excited because finally our potatoes have arrived all the way from the south of Chile. 8-10 days on a boat to get our potatoes here. So let's go and check them out. Our potatoes all the way from the south of Chile are now here in Rapa Nui. We're going to plant them. We're going to get hopefully about 10 potatoes for every one of them when we plant them. So check them out. Look at them all. Look at all these beautiful potatoes. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! We had been pretty low on cash up until then, with no real paid work in the last year and a half. The arrival of the potatoes meant we were able to sell some and make some money. We were able to pay some big machinery to come and clear the rocks and also to plough the land. It was all coming together as if a divine hand was guiding everything. It was time to plant. It took just one day as friends and family came together. We planted potatoes, corn, peas, sweet potatoes and beans. And as the day finished, the sun was setting. We shared a meal together and children playing. And I reflected on the last year of difficulties and the twists and turns that life brings. It was a sense of fulfillment, a sense of completion. Somehow, despite all the problems we'd had, things were finally coming together. So yeah, COVID took a lot away from us. It took away a stable income, a sense of identity in the work that we did. It took away the ability to travel, to see family. But COVID gave us a lot of things as well, things that we would never have had otherwise. It put us in the position where we had to think outside the box. It gave us time to be with family, time to learn new things, the ability to work the land, to be out with family and friends, and the ancient sense of umanga as we work together, trying to build something that we wouldn't have built otherwise. Yeah, COVID took away a lot of things, but if I could go back, would I change it? I don't think I would.